Hello everybody, my name is Andre, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can create custom effects for your GoHighLevel website from scratch. So let's add a normal section, right? And inside this section let's add a column and a headline. If you click on the headline, click here on styles, scroll down, you'll see that it has two fields here: custom class, which we're going to address in just a second, and CSS selector. This right here, if you copy it, is the ID associated with this element right here. And what can you do with this ID? Well, you can click on this button here, custom CSS, and here you can write properties that apply to that specific element. So this is the syntax, and as you can see, everything that we write here will only be applied to that specific element. So if we have background color red, we click save. As you can see, we changed the background color of our text element to red. Very, very simple. But if we create another text, let's say like this, we click on styles, as you can see, this one has another ID. So if we want to add the same red background, if we click here, we can either do this, and of course we can copy everything, right? And if we click save, you'll see that this one also has the background red, but this is not that good, right? Because we have duplicated code. One way of doing it is by going here, adding a comma, space, and then we add our second ID and we delete everything. If we click save, as you can see, nothing changes because this code also works. But this is a bit too much, you know. If you want to apply the same background color to, let's say, 10 sentences, 10 text elements, as you can see, you would have to select all the IDs, go here and add them. And maybe if you come back 1 year later, you won't know what's up with all these IDs, right? So one better way of selecting multiple elements and adding the same properties is by using a class. And the class is written like this: dot and text class, let's say, right? This is the name that you want to add, right? Usually it's better to have a class that represents what, you know, it does. So in our case would be red background class, right? This is a class that we want to add red as a background color. We delete everything and we select this class, right, without a dot. Click save, and as you can see, obviously we deleted the custom code. But now if we click on whatever element we want, go to styles, and here in custom class we can add the red background class. If we click enter, nothing happens because the way GoHighLevel websites are built, the default, you know, element properties override the class element, the class properties. So in order for our class to override what GoHighLevel added by default, we go here and add important. And this way, if we click save, as you can see, the color from our class overrode the background color from GoHighLevel, right? So this is a little difference between classes and IDs inside GoHighLevel. Using an ID, using this CSS selector here, you don't need to add this tag here, this important attribute here. But the best part about classes is that you can go to whatever element, paste the class, and as you can see, it will automatically add that, you know, red background. or whatever property you want to add. But let's delete it because we don't want it. What if we have another class, let's say green text? So green text, and also, yeah, we'll add another class in just a second. The thing is with GoHighLevel, so if we add color green, this color will change the text color. Of course, let's add important here, and this one should change the text color. But since the class is added on the entire element, not only on the text, you want to also specify what type of text you want to change. So in our case it will be a H1, because this one is an H1. If you select it, you'll see here that it says H1, right? As you can see here, if we select it, H1. If you change it to something else, you would need to add it here, right? H2, or if you want to have multiple, you'll have green text H1 and stuff like that. So if we select green text and go here, paste it, as you can see, we have the green text applied. And we can also add this class as well to this one here, because you can add as many classes as you want, right? And as you can see, we have one class that adds a red background and another one that adds a green text. And of course, you can have multiple such classes, right? Let's say yellow text that change the color to yellow. And this way you can combine different classes and achieve different types of effects. And these are only two ways of selecting an element. As you saw here, we used a third one, the tag selector, because H2, H1, div, span, things like that from HTML are called tags. And you can use the tags inside CSS to change attributes on, all the elements that have the same tag. For example, if I have H1 and let's say I want the color to be blue, you'll see in just a second that these are overwritten. These ones are not overwritten because they go on top of the tag. So if you delete these classes, or you just delete the important part, you'll see that all our elements that are H1 are now blue. See here, H1, and we did this here using the tag, and then we changed the color. Those are just 3 ways of selecting elements inside your GoHighLevel website through custom code, but of course there are plenty more, and in my Notion doc I just created a new module, a new section that covers a lot of the basic stuff for building your own effects. This is actually the name of the section, Make Your Own Effects, which I created for you to understand all the other effects so you can customize them however you want, and also for you to create your own effects from scratch. And this first tutorial here covers what I just shown you in this video: the class selector, the ID selector, and the element selector. And of course there are plenty more selectors that you can learn about in this tutorial. Now let's focus on the next tutorial, how to make your GoHighLevel website feel alive. And I'll show you a very interesting effect that you can easily recreate inside your GoHighLevel website to make it look nicer. And we are talking about hover effects. this right here is a tutorial about hover effects, and of course, as you can see here, transitions and a lot of other cool stuff here in the Notion doc. So let's try to create some hover effects in our website. Right, so we covered how to select an element in 3 distinct ways. Now let's try to add some effects. So let's select this class right here, red background class, and we add 2 dots, we write hover, and then we open and close the accolades. And let's try here background blue, let's say. So what this basically does is when we hover an element with this class, the background will change to blue. Very, very simple. And as you can see here, if we hover any element with the red background class attached, right, as you can see here, then the background becomes blue. But as you can see, it's a bit snappy. It doesn't look that nice. So what we can do is combine the hover effect with a transition. So we go on the base class, red background class, which is here. Let's actually delete everything here because we don't really need it. You understood how that works. And inside here, let's add this line, transition background color 0.3 seconds is. So basically this transition will last 0.3 seconds and it will apply to the background color property, which changes from red to blue and of course from blue to red when we don't hover. Very, very easy. Let's click save, and now as you can see, when you hover over an element, it changes color very smoothly. Of course, you can increase the time here, 0.6, and as you can see here, it looks a bit better. And of course, this hover effect can be applied to a multitude of things, not just only background color. So let's try to create one that's a bit more complex. So we hover over the red background class color, and then we want to change the H1 color to white, let's say. Obviously, the H1 needs to be inside the red background color in order for this to work. But we only want this to happen for the H1 when we hover the base class. So let's click save, and as you can see here, the text color also changes, but of course we need a transition to the H1. Let's add that transition color, let's say, because of course we don't want the background color. And now as you can see, it fades smoothly from black to white when it comes to the text color, and of course from red to blue and vice versa for the background color. So those are basically the basics for hover animations. And in my Notion doc, you'll find a lot of hover animations. For example, this one contains 31 button hover effects, plus a ton more that now, with this basic information, you can customize them however you want. At least the hover part you can customize and play around with different settings, different properties to make them essentially your own, because you know how to change them now. Of course, there are more things regarding hover effects, which I cover in this tutorial here in hover effects and how to make your GoHighLevel website feel alive. And of course, if you understand this tutorial, you'll be able to fully modify all the effects from here. And yeah, we also covered some transitions earlier, just basic stuff, but of course we have here more advanced tutorials. And if you are curious what's inside this document and you want to get it, there is a link in the description which you can click and you can grab this document. Now, let's talk a bit about variables, because this is an important aspect and a lot of effects from here use variables. So let's go inside the GoHighLevel website builder and talk about variables. So variables are basically what their name says, values that you can change once, and every class that uses that variable will be automatically updated. So how we can add variables to our CSS? Well, we use this selector here, root, because we want the variables to be applied on a general level on the whole page. And inside here, let's say color 1, and let's make it red. And now you can change this. You can take this color and add it here. You can add it, wherever you want, here, wherever you use red, you add color 1. Sorry, not like this. You want to add like this. Perfect. Because it's a variable. And as you can see, everything is now red. And of course, if you want to change the variable, instead of going here and here and here to change the color manually, you can go here, change it once, and it will be applied to the whole page, as you can see right here, right? Everything changed smoothly to green. And of course, you can use JavaScript to dynamically update these variables. And as I said earlier, a lot of effects from my Notion doc use variables, so that's why I thought it would be important for you to understand how they work, and this way you can further customize all the effects. Next, I want to show you how to use CSS to transform the scale and the position of an element. So, very, very useful. So let's try to use a button for this particular example, and let's add a class called button style 1. Let's say, let's copy it and let's add it inside the custom CSS with a dot, remember, because it's a class. And inside here, let's add transform 0.6 is, right? The same transition as before, but this time we are targeting the transform property. Now, let's add the button style 1, hover, because we want to add an effect on hover, and here let's add the transform property and let's scale it 1.2, let's say, and this basically will scale the button 1.2 times when we hover over it, as you can see right here. And of course it also goes back. Very, very important thing to understand and to know when it comes to custom effects. And of course you can add 1 second here, 1.2, whatever you want, right? You can do so many things. And instead of scale, you can use another value for the transform property, which is called translate y, which basically moves the element -5 pixels on the y axis. Let me show you. And as you can see, when you hover over the button, it slightly moves -5 pixels on the y axis. Of course, if you add 5 pixels, it will move down, right? As you can see right here. And if you change the translate y to translate x, you know what will happen, right? It will move to the right a bit. Very, very easy. So basically this is how you play around with the scale and the position of an element, right? And this way you can create some really cool hover effects if you combine all the things that I shown you in this video. And speaking of combining all the things that we learned today, let's try to do exactly that. Let's try to create a cool effect for this button only with the things that we learned today. But the first thing we need to do, let's design it a little bit better. So let's try to add a full border. Let's make it black, and let's add a border radius of 25 pixels, or yeah, let's keep it like this. And also the text, I would like it to be bolded, and we already have a class button style 1, and let's go here, button style 1 transform. Actually, let's put all instead of transform, because we want all the properties to have a transition. And here we have translate X. We don't really want that. We want to have a scale of 1.1, let's say, and this way our button will scale a bit, you know, the effect from previous code example. And we also want to add a background change. So let's add here background blue, and important. I want to check if this is correct. Yeah, perfect, this is correct. Can we get the code from this color? I wonder. Yeah, perfect, because they improved the GoHighLevel website builder. So we can just add the code here, which is really good. And here we can change the background to, let's say, black, right? And of course background color, but I mean it's the same, background or background color. And color should be for the button, for the text, right? Let's try to let's try to mess around with these. So this should change the color. Actually, let's put red because I want to confirm. Yeah, perfect. So color is for text, even for buttons. So we have white. And then if we also copy it for the hover, as you can see, we want to put it black as well. Actually not. Let's put it white here and black here. Perfect. So now, as you can see, we have a button, and when we hover over it, as you can see, with a really nice animation, it changes the background color, the text color, and also it scales up. Very cool. So this is basically the foundation for custom effects in GoHighLevel. Of course, there are a ton more things that need to be learned in order to fully create custom codes from scratch. The majority of them I addressed in the tutorials from this section in my Notion doc. And now, if you're curious to see what types of effects you can create for your GoHighLevel websites using custom codes, then check out this video.